So I decided that I wanted to see what was the biggest total crit that a Necromancer could do in Season 2, because if you've been watching any of the other classes, basically everybody has this one big bonk strong build. Everybody's talking about one-shotting Duriel and one-shotting Lilith, and if a build can't one-shot a boss, what's the point of it? And obviously, like, crit damage has always been like a really high, kind of ego-driven, but just like super cool thing to see when it all comes together, right? Can my build do the most damage possible? So I started theory crafting what I thought would be the biggest damage skill that the Necromancer has available to it. And I just wanted to kind of show you this number and then reveal why it's absolutely bananas. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Easy peasy, a quick little 154 million damage crit. Now that's not too crazy, right? In fact, let's go ahead and look at this one right here. $237 million damage on that crit overpower. Now we're abusing a lot of wild stuff here. We're talking about perfect conditions, but here's probably the biggest thing that you need to be aware of for how ridiculous this damage number is about to get. This is effectively the build that you were just looking at that I have running in game. The concept is basically forcing an overpower through Blood Boil using Banished Lord's Talisman to buff our crit / overpower damage, then using Blood Moon Breaches that say that we do additional overpower damage on targets that are cursed, put on a curse so we get a bunch of additional damage multipliers, and then stack as much additive and multiplicative crit damage that we possibly can. Deathless Visage for the 2 damage bonuses with maximum essence, Blood Artisan's Cures for the +4 to Bone Spirit with the additional damage from Blood Orbs, Fists of Fate to be able to roll 300% of our base damage, boots that literally say Bone Spirit, all stats, and intelligence, the biggest two-handed sword that we can possibly get with the most additive damage sources and the highest bonuses to intelligence possible, a ring that says Intercom, a ring that says Serration. We have Grasping Veins on this for the biggest damage multiplier. The skill tree is just very optimized for damage, but it's actually pretty close to what you would normally run on Bone Spirit. Most notably, we're just getting Fueled by Death, we're getting Abhorrent Decrepify to apply amplified damage on target, we're using Bone Storm to be able to trigger Compound Fracture as well as Evulsion, max ranks on Bone Spirit as well, getting Vulnerable from Corpse Tendrils. Then you'll also see inside of our Vampiric powers, we're getting Prayer on the Weak for an additional multiplier, and then in the Paragon, while this right here isn't the most maximized or min-max version of it, we're basically stacking on as many multipliers again as possible. Corporeal for a 1.1 multiplier, Sacrificial for a 1.1 multiplier, Territorial for a huge amount of additive, Essence for a multiplier once they are no longer healthy. Then we have Amplify for another multiplier, and then we also have Gravekeeper, which I'm currently slotting in Control since this is an elite dummy. And we're going to stack as many multipliers as possible. That's the whole concept. We're also going to get Flesh Eater for an additional multiplier there. We're going to get Scent of Death for an additional multiplier there, etc., etc. Now, that's all well and good. You probably assume that people are doing this all the time. You got Serok, who's doing this with X-Falls right now. He's getting crazy big crits. Shoutouts to my boy Serok. But you may be asking yourself, what's the little twist here, Mac? You can explain basic multiplication to me and you can just say you're going to get a bunch of multipliers. Why should you be impressed with that 237 million damage crit that you just saw? Well, I realized I had started all of my testing with my Fists of Fate already on, and the issue with that is you start getting pretty wild numbers. I got a 7 million damage crit, I got 150 million damage crit, and I asked the question, wait a minute, let's go ahead and get a baseline of damage. A baseline, not including Fists of Fate at all, so I know whether or not I'm hitting lower or higher than what our base damage is. So I wasn't wearing Fists of Fate, not for the one that I just showed you, and not for the other one that I just showed you either. My 237 million damage crit was with a baseline crit. I was not wearing Fists of Fate. On top of that, my Fists of Fate are actually only a 220%, meaning that if I were to roll a maximum damage bonus on this, I would only be gaining another 2.2 multiplier. And just to give you a quick idea, a 2.2 multiplier on 237 million, easily puts us over 500 million damage as long as I high roll. And that's with suboptimal gear that I'm currently wearing. And just to give you an idea of that, my Deathless Visage isn't perfect. The Blood Artisans doesn't have a perfect roll on damage bonus. The Blood Moon Breaches are also not perfect, although the stats here aren't really relevant to our purposes. While I do have Intelligence in all stats on my boots, neither of them are perfect rolls. My weapon has perfect on all stats, perfect on intelligence, and really high on damage to close with a really good overpower damage. So actually, I think that this weapon is like pretty close to perfect. I can't complain about this one. The Banished Lords isn't a perfect roll on Overpower. My ring is a crit damage, physical damage with max essence that's missing out on 2. And then my second one is crit damage, overpower damage, and physical, missing 3 essence. Oh, on top of the fact that my Paragon board is nowhere near as perfect as what you were just looking at. I actually don't even have all the glyphs maxed out to be able to put all the ones in here that I want currently. Now, I can't wait to get that clip for you when I have done 500 million damage on a Necromancer build using Bone Spirit and Overpower Force procs. It even has a higher potential to get up to. If I had a perfect Fists of Fate and actually rolled the 300, now we're talking about close to a full billion damage, somewhere around 800 million. And if that don't one-shot a boss, I don't know what will. But I'm going to go ahead and keep grinding away at this until I get those high numbers for you. I'm also going to be streaming these attempts live tomorrow on Twitch as well as on YouTube. If you've been watching me only on Twitch, or if you've always wanted to watch but you haven't been able to catch me because I don't stream on YouTube, I'm multi-streaming now. So hopefully you can come by and enjoy the spectacles as we finally get the fireworks to go off to get this thing to crit as high as physically possible. But watch out, Barbarians. Watch out, Sorceresses. Looks like the Necromancer actually has a horse in this race. Let me know down in the comments what's the highest potential crit that you have actually gotten on the Necromancer. Have you been messing around with the Spirit Bomb Bone Spirit Necromancer like I have? I'd love to hear from you. As always, if you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you're brand new here, I'd love to have you hang around. I try to put out stuff like this all the time. So if you've been looking for like this deep analytical type of content, then you found the right channel and I'm happy to have you. Also, if you wouldn't mind, go ahead and throw a like on the video. I'm trying to dump as many great videos into the YouTube algorithm as possible so that more people and big nerds like us can see this content and come join us. But again, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that entertained you, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.